Good day, everyone. We are Group 8, and today we will discuss Module 8 of Dimensions of Development from the Nstp Literacy Training Service, or the LTS. Objectives. At the end of the unit, the students must be able to explain the different dimensions of development of NSTP, appreciate gender and development and its related laws, articulate their responsibilities on programs or tasks that may be implemented.
Hello everyone. So today I'm going to discuss dimension of development. According to Merriam-Webster, dimension means aspect, features, elements, or part of something. In NSTP, it means the features or the different elements of development which NSTP students have to get themselves involved with. So there are 7 dimensions of development of NSTP, known as NSTP. First is safety and security. This area involves disaster preparedness during fire, earthquake, or other calamity that needs immediate response from any trained civilians during emergency situations. Basic life-saving seminar like are some of these examples. Second, education. This area involves enhancement of institutional support materials and facilities for the community, such as providing materials from containing basic literacy skills for preschoolers, alternative learning system for out-of-school youths and adults, mathematics and science tutorials, and extended services of skilled students. 3. Recreation. This area involves sport, fest, parlor games for street children, and painting that enrich youth's capacities to relate with one another in the community. 4. Values formation and moral recovery. This involves the development of youth to be good leaders, responsible individuals imbued with good moral values and active agents of development of the community. 5th, industry and entrepreneurship. This area includes programs and activities that are vital to economic growth. CWTS students demonstrate technical skills in communities like meeting processing, skill screen making, and how to establish a small business. 6. Care for health. This area aims to give knowledge on medical related fields and extend health services needed in the community. It includes medical services like first aid operation, vaccination, information dissemination, basic life-saving seminars, health or nutrition technical assistance, and training of youth to be first aid assistants. Last, environment. These are inculcates environmental awareness and its contribution to health and related fields. It involves management of waste, environmental protection, dissemination and application of technologies supportive of the community needs and livelihood activities related to environment and other related fields supportive of the national trust.
Next is about Republic Act 8425, the Social Reform and Poverty Alleviation Act. It institutionalizing the Social Reform and Poverty Alleviation Program, creating for the purpose the National Anti-Poverty Commission, defining its powers and functions, and for the other purposes. The policy of the state are as follows. Number 1. Adopt an area-based, sectoral, and focused intervention to poverty alleviation wherein every poor Filipino family shall be empowered to meet its minimum basic needs of health, food and nutrition, water and environmental sanitation, income security, shelter and decent housing, peace and order, education and functional literacy, participation in governance and family care, and psychosocial integrity. Number 2, actively pursue asset reform or redistribution of productive economic resources to the basic sectors, including the adoption of a system of public spending which is targeted towards the poor. And number 3, institutionalize and enhance the social reform agenda, hereinafter known as the SRA, which embodies the results of the series of consultations and summits on poverty alleviation. Lastly, number 4, adapt and operationalize the following principles and strategies as constituting the national framework integrating various structural reforms and anti-poverty initiatives. Here are the 8 following principles and strategies. Letter A. Social reform shall be a continuing process that addresses the basic inequities in Philippine society through a systematic package of social interventions. Letter B. The SRA or Social Reform Agenda shall be enhanced by government in equal partnership with the different basic sectors through appropriate and meaningful consultations and participation in governance. Letter C. The policy, programs, and resource commitments from both government and the basic sectors shall be clearly defined to ensure accountability and transparency in the implementation of the social reform agendas. Letter D. A policy environment conducive to sustainable social reform shall be pursued. The SRA shall address the fight against poverty through a multi-dimensional and cross-sectoral approach, which recognizes and respects the core values, cultural integrity, and spiritual diversity of target sectors and communities. Letter E. The SRA shall pursue a gender-responsive approach to fight poverty. Letter F. The SRA shall promote ecological balance in the different ecosystems in a way that gives the basic sectors a major stake in the use, management, conservation, and protection of productive resources. Letter G. The SRA shall take into account the principle and interrelationship of population and development in the planning and implementation of social reform programs, thereby promoting self-help and self-reliance. And lastly, letter H, the SRA implementation shall be focused on specific target areas and basic sectors. Section 2, Declaration of Policy.
The platform of government, a social contract with the Filipino people. President Benigno S. Aquino III signed Executive Order Number 43, Section 2011, organizing the cabinet into smaller groups called as the cabinet clusters. The cabinet clusters composed of, first, the good governance and anti-corruption, second, human development and poverty reduction, third, economic development, fourth, security, justice, and peace, and fifth, climate change adaptation and mitigation. It served as the primary mechanism of the executive branch for directing all efforts towards the realization of the social contract with the Filipino people and its 5 key result areas. So the good cabinet clusters and their key programs, the good governance and anti-corruption. It promotes transparency, accountability, participatory governance, and strengthening of public institutions. It shall also work to regain the trust and confidence of the public in the government. So, it includes freedom of information and the people's budget. So, ang good governance and anti-corruption, it promotes the transparency and accountability, and also for the public to work or to regain the trust and confidence. So the human development, it focuses on improving the overall quality of life of the Filipino and translating the gains of good governance into direct, immediate, and substantial benefits that will empower the poor and marginalized segments of society. So, ang human development, nag-focus naman siya to improve the quality of life of the Filipinos and also to help those poor people. The Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino Program or 4Ps is a human development measure of the national government that provides conditional cash grants to the poorest of the poor to improve the health, nutrition, and the education of children age 0 to 18. So, ang 4Ps, siya ang isa sa human development, isa ka example of human development nga nagabulig sa mga Pilipino, especially those poor people or poor Filipino to improve their health, their nutrition, and also their education. This program is patterned after the conditional cash transfer schemes in Latin American and African countries, which have benefited millions of people around the world from poverty in the Philippines. The Department of Social Welfare and Development, or DSWD, is the lead government agency of 4Ps. So, objectives. The 4Ps has dual objectives as the flagship poverty alleviation program of the Aquino administration. First, the social assistance, giving monetary support to extremely poor families to respond to their immediate needs, and the social development, breaking the intergenerational poverty cycle by investing in the health and education of poor children through programs such as health checkups for pregnant women and children aged 0 to 5, deworming of school children aged 6 to 14, and the enrollment of children in daycare, elementary, and secondary schools, and the family development sessions. It helps the Philippine government to fulfill its commitment to the Millennium Development Goals, specifically in eradicating extreme poverty and hunger, in achieving universal primary education, and in promoting gender equality, in reducing child mortality, and in improving maternal health care. So that's all. Thank you.
Next is the 4Ps operates in all the 17 regions in the Philippines, covering 79 provinces, 143 cities, and 1,484 municipalities. The beneficiaries are selected through the National Household Targeting System for Poverty Reduction, or the NHTSPR, which identifies who and where the poor are in the country. In general, the following criteria must be satisfied to become eligible for the program. A. Residents of the poorest municipalities. Based on 2003, a small area estimates the CAE of the National Statistical Coordination Board, or the NSCBC. B. Households whose economic condition is equal to or below the provincial poverty threshold. C. Households that have children to 0 to 18 years old and have a pregnant woman at the time of assessment. D. Household that agree to meet conditions specified in the program complementing the 4Ps is the Modified Conditional Cash Transfer, or the MCCT program. It caters to families in need of special protection. These includes the street families, itinerant indigenous families, families displaced by natural and man-made disasters, families with a person with disability or the PWD, child laborers, children in conflict with the law, and families with members with the terminal disease and victims of human trafficking. As of August 26, 2015, there are 4,353,597 active household beneficiaries, of which 570,056 are indigenous households and 217,359 have at least one PWD. The program also covers 10,235,000 658 school children aged 0 to 18, from the total registered with an average of 2 to 3 children per household. The FORPIS has two types of cash grants that are given out to households beneficiaries. Number 1, Health Grant, 500 pesos per household every month, or a total of 6,000 pesos every year. Number 2, Education Grant, 300 pesos per child every month for 10 months, or a total of 3,000 every year. Household may register a maximum of 3 children for the program. For a household with 3 children, a household may receive 1,400 pesos every month, or a total of 15,000 pesos every year for 5 years, from the two types of cash grants given to them. These cash grants are distributed to the household beneficiaries through the Land Bank of the Philippines, or if not feasible, through the alternate payment schemes such as Globe, GCash, Remittance, and Rural Bank transactions. As of August 2015, a total of 27.15 billion cash grants were paid to eligible and compliant beneficiaries for the first to the third period of 2015, covering January to August disbursement. From this amount of 13.23 billion was paid for education, and the remaining 13.92 billion was disbursed for health. The succeeding conditions must be met by the household beneficiaries. A. Pregnant woman must avail pre- and post-natal care and be attended during childbirth by a trained professional. B. Parents or guardians must attend the family development sessions, which include topics on responsible parenting, health, and nutrition. Children aged 0 to 5 must receive regular preventative health checkups and vaccines. Children aged 6 to 14 must receive deworming pills twice a year, and children beneficiaries aged 3 to 18 must enroll in school and maintain an attendance of at least 85% of class days every month. High compliance rates were recorded for the months of March and to April 2015, 99.91% for the deworming of children aged 6 to 14, then 98.99% for school attendance of children aged 6 to 14, 98.33% for school attendance of children in daycare aged 3 to 5, 97.05% for school attendance of children aged 15 to 19 is 95.95%. For health visits of pregnant women and children aged 0 to 5 and 94.84% for attendance in family development sessions.
So the next is the partnerships with government agencies. In partnership with the Commission on Higher Education, the Department of Labor and Employment, and the Philippine Association of State Universities and Colleges, FORPIS has enrolled 36,003 beneficiaries in state universities and colleges as of June 2015. Additionally, in partnership with PhilHealth, FORPIS has covered 4.4 million beneficiaries under the National Health Insurance Program. So, the 5-point position on responsible parenthood of President Benigno Aquino III. First is the I am against abortion. Second is I am in favor of giving couples the right to choose how best to manage their families so that in the end, their welfare and that of their children are best served. Third, the state must respect each individual's right to follow his or her conscience and religious convictions on matters and issues pertaining to the unity of the family and the sacredness of human life from conception to natural death. Fourth, in a situation where couples, especially the poor and disadvantaged ones, are in no position to make an informed judgment, the state has the responsibility to provide. Fifth, in the range of options and information provided to couples, natural family planning and modern methods shall be presented as equally available. Okay, move on to the next is the sin taxes. So, House Bill 5727 or the sin tax bill aims to restructure the existing taxes imposed on alcohol and tobacco goods. So, likewise, the higher taxes and consequently higher costs are seen as a deterrent to the consumption of sin products whose adverse effects are mostly borne by the poorer segments of society. So, why are we supporting it? First is to promote health by discouraging vice. Second is to collect more revenue for healthcare. And the next topic will be health. According to the Department of Health or DOH, the Philippines has an estimated 17.3 million tobacco consumers. The most number of smokers are in the Southeast Asia. So the Filipinos on average consume 1,073 cigarette sticks annually, while the smokers in the region consume less than 1,000 sticks yearly. So this high consumption rate is seen as a result, among others, of the very low cigarette prices in our country. The third one is the economic development. The economic development cluster shall focus on the promotion of rapid, inclusive, and sustained economic growth. So the next slide will be discussed by Mazie.
I will discuss number 4, security, justice, and peace. The security cluster shall ensure the preservation of national sovereignty and the rule of law, and focus on the protection and promotion of human rights and the pursuit of a just, comprehensive, and lasting peace. Next, number 5, environment and climate change. The climate change adaptation and mitigation cluster shall focus on the conservation and protection of the environment and natural resources. It shall take the lead in pursuing measures to adapt to and mitigate the effects of climate change in the Philippine archipelago, and undertake all the necessary preparation for both natural and man-made disasters. Project NOAA or NOAA, Nationwide Operational Assessment of Hazards. Project NOAA is the Department of Science and Technologies or DOST. It responds to the call of President Benigno S. Aquino III for a more accurate, integrated, and responsive disaster prevention and mitigation system, especially in high-risk areas throughout the Philippines. The project will harness technologies and management services for disaster risk reduction activities offered by the DOST through PAG-ASA, PVOX, and the DOST Advanced Science and Technology Institute in partnership with the UP National Institute of Geological Sciences and the UP College of Engineering. Next, the distribution of hydrometeorological devices in hard-hit areas in the Philippines, or hydromet. A total of 600 automated rain gauges and 400 water level monitoring station or WLMS will be installed along the country's 18 major river basins by December 2013 to provide a better picture of the country's surface water in relation to flooding. Disaster risk exposure assessment for mitigation or light detection and raging Dream LIDAR project. This project, which is targeted to be completed by December 2013, aims to produce more accurate flood, inundation, and hazard maps in 3D for the country's flood-prone and major river systems and watersheds. Next, enhancing geohazards mapping through LIDAR. The project, which is targeted to be completed by December 2014, shall use LIDAR technology and computer-assisted analysis to identify exact areas prone to landslides. Coastal Hazards and Storm Surge Assessment and Mitigation, or CHASAM, targeted to be completed by December 2014, will generate wave surge, wave refraction, and coastal circulation models to understand and recommend solutions for coastal erosion. Next, Flood Information Network or FloodNet project. Targeted to be completed by December 2013, is a flood center that will provide timely and accurate information for flood early warning systems. The FloodNet project will come up with computer models for the critical arbist or river basins, automate the process of data gathering, modeling, and information output, and release flood forecast. Next, I will discuss local development of Doppler radar systems or LADERs. LADERs seek to develop local capacity to design, fabricate, and operate subsystems of Doppler radars for remotely sensing the dynamic parameters of sea surface such as wave, wind field, and surface current velocity. Next, Landslide Sensors Development Project, or this project is a low-cost, locally developed, sensor-based early monitoring and warning system for landslides, slope failures, and depressed flow. As of May 2012, 10 sensors have been installed in San Francisco, Surigao del Norte, Tagu, Surigao del Sur, Tublay, Budjas, and Bukod in Benguet, Gihulngan City, Negros Occidental, St. Bernard, Southern Leyte, and Tubungan, Iloilo. Additional sensors are expected to be deployed to not less than 50 sites by 2013. Next is Weather Hazard Information Project or WHIP, WHIP. WHIP involves the utilization of platforms such as television and the web portal http://noaa.dost.gov.ph, which display real-time satellite, Doppler radar, ARG, and WLMS data to empower LGUs and communities to prepare against extreme natural hazards. This is complemented by activities such as A conducting of IEC or Information, Education, and Communication activities, and B, the processing and packaging of relevant and up-to-date information for public use. And that's all. Thank you.
So let's tackle the topic about the Gender and Development or GAD program. The Gender and Development Program, or GAD, is a development perspective and process that is participatory and empowering, equitable, sustainable, free from violence, respectful of human rights, supportive of self-determination, and actualization of human potentials. It seeks to achieve gender equality as a fundamental value that should be reflected in development choices and contents, that women are active agents of development, not just passive recipients of development. Republic Act No. 9710, or the Magna Carta of Women. So what is the Magna Carta of Women? The Magna Carta of Women is a comprehensive women's human rights law that seeks to eliminate discrimination through the recognition, protection, fulfillment, and promotion of the rights of Filipino women, especially those belonging to the marginalized sectors of society. So GAD focuses on gender mainstreaming, or a strategy for, first, making women's as well as men's concern and experiences an integral dimension of all design, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation of policies, programs, and projects in all social media, political, civil, and economic spheres so that women and men benefit equally. Second, assessing the implications for women and men of any planned action, including legislation, policies, or programs in all areas and at all levels. Third, to take appropriate steps to ensure the full implementation of the policies, strategies, and programs or projects outlined in the plan. Fourth, to institutionalize gender and development efforts in government by incorporating GAD concerns as spelled out in the plan, in their planning, programming, and budgeting processes, but specifically to incorporate GAD concerns in the formulation, assessment, and updating of their annual agency's plans. Also to formulation, assessment, and updating their inputs to the medium, long-term development plans. And lastly, preparation of their inputs to sectoral performance assessments, reports, public investments, plans, and other similar documents. So the last focus of GAD on gender mainstreaming or a strategy for is incorporate and reflect GAD concerns in their agency performance, commitments, contracts, indicating key results areas for GAD, as well as their annual performance reports to the President, and also annual agency budget, proposals and work and financial plans.
Now, I will be discussing the Republic Act number 8760, General Appropriations Act or GAA, on programs and projects related to gender and development or GAD. Section 27. All concerned government entities shall submit their GAD plan to the National Commission on Women for review. They shall likewise submit annual reports to Congress, the Department of Budget and Management or DBM, and National Commission on Women or NCW, indicating the accomplishment and amounts utilized, implement programs, projects, activities addressing gender issues and women empowerment. The evaluation of agencies' utilization of the GAD budget shall be performance-based. Now, we will proceed to the Republic Act number 9710, an act providing for the Magna Carta of Women. Section 36. Gender mainstreaming as a strategy of implementing the Magna Carta of Women. All government departments, including their attached agencies, offices, bureaus, state universities, and colleges, government-owned and controlled corporations, local government units, and all other government instrumentalities should adopt gender mainstreaming as a strategy to promote women's human rights and eliminate gender discrimination in their systems, structures, policies, programs, process, and procedures. Section 36B, Creation and or Strengthening of the GAD Focal Points or GFP. All concerned government agencies and instrumentalities mentioned above shall establish or strengthen their GAD Focal Point System or GFPS or similar GAD mechanism to catalyze and accelerate gender mainstreaming within the agency. In addition to Joint Circular 99.4 issued by the National Economic and Development Authority or NEDA, the DBM and NCRFW, additional sets of guidelines as deemed necessary shall be formulated for the implementation of GAD related programs, projects, and activities. And the next topic is Republic Act number 11313 or an act defining gender-based sexual harassment in streets, public spaces, online, workplaces, and educational or training institutions, providing protective measure and prescribing penalties thereof. Section 4. Gender-based streets and public spaces sexual harassment. The crimes of gender-based streets and public spaces sexual harassment are committed through any unwanted and uninvited sexual actions or remarks against any person regardless of the motive of committing such action or remarks. Acts of constitutive of gender-based streets and public spaces sexual harassment are those performed in buildings, school, churches, restaurants, malls, public washrooms, bars, internet shops, public markets, transformation terminals, or public utility vehicles. And thank you so much for listening to my report.
Specific acts and penalties for gender-based sexual harassment in streets and public spaces. The following acts are unlawful and shall be penalized by the following. For acts such as cursing, mouth-whistling, catcalling, leering and instructive gazing, taunting, cursing, unwanted invitation, misogynistic, transphobic, homophobic, and sexual slur, persistent unwanted comments on one's appearance, relentless requests for one's personal details such as name, contact, and social media details or destination, the use of word, gesture, or action that ridicules on the basis of sex, gender, or social orientation, identity, and/or expression, includes sexist, homophobic, and transphobic statement and slur, the persistent telling of sexual joke, use of sexual name, comment, and demands, and any statement that has made an invasion on a person's personal space or threaten the person's sense of personal safety. The first offense shall be punished by a fine of 1,000 pesos and a community service of 12 hours, inclusive of attendance to a gender sensitivity seminar to be conducted by the PNP in coordination with the LGU and the PCW. Section 11 RA 11313 Safe Space Act, Bawal Bastos Law. The law covers all forms of gender-based sexual harassment or GBSH committed in public spaces, educational or training institution, workplace, as well as online spaces. P for acts such as making offensive body gesture at someone and exposing private parts for sexual gratification of a perpetrator with the effect of demeaning, harassing, threatening, or intimidating the offended party, including flashing of private parts, public masturbation, grouping, and similar lewd sexual actions. The first offense shall be punished by a fine of 10,000 pesos and community service of 12 hours, inclusive of attendance to a gender sensitivity seminar to be conducted by the PNP in coordination with the LGU and the PCW. The second offense shall be punished by arresto menor 11 to 13 days or a fine of 15,000 pesos. The third offense shall be punished by arresto mayor 1 month and 1 day to 6 months and a fine of 20,000 pesos.
C. For acts such as stalking or any of the acts mentioned in Section 11, Paragraph A and B, when accompanied by touching, pinching against the body of the offended person, or any touching, pinching, or brushing against the genitalia, face, arms, anus, groin, breast, inner thighs, face, buttocks, or any parts of the victim's body, even when not accompanied by acts mentioned in Section 11, Paragraph A and B. The first offense shall be punished by arresto menor 11 to 30 days or a fine of 30,000 pesos, provided that it includes attendance in gender sensitivity seminar to be conducted by the PNP in coordination with the LGU and the PCW. The second offense shall be punished by arresto mayor, a 1 month and 1 day to 6 months, or a fine of 50,000 pesos. The third offense shall be punished by arresto mayor in its maximum period of fine of 100,000 pesos. The primary focus of Cjhade, the gender and development approaches, focuses on social constructed difference between men and women, the need to challenge existing gender roles and relations, the creation of effects of the class difference on development. How does gender affect development? Gender discrimination and women's low status are the root of women's limited autonomy and of the denial of their rights to health and bodily integrity. When the women suffer poor mental and physical health and limited decision-making power, this, in turn, impacts negatively on their children's survival, health, growth. In the first 3 years of our term, we focus resources on our conditional cash transfer program, Stay in School, See the Doctor, be our partners in health and learning, and we will lend you a helping hand. We close the gap in classroom and raise our budget for education, primary all the way to tertiary level. The next 3 years will see continued intervention in the poorest of the poor, but also focus on the vulnerable but emerging sectors of society. Former President Benigno Simon C. Aquino III.